Hey there, it's Dave at No Recipe Required, and tonight I've got one of the coolest, I think one of the coolest meatloaf recipes that you're ever going to see. It's actually a stuffed meatloaf where we get some mushroom and some spinach to kind of spiral through the meatloaf. You'll see it as we put it together. Really easy to make. We cook off some mushrooms and the spinach, then kind of roll it into the meatloaf before we cook it. Obviously, before we cook it. Turns out really, really good, spectacular tasting, and really spectacular looking. Your guests, your friends, your family, they're all going to love it. They're going to be amazed that you did it. They're going to wonder how you did it. I'm going to show you how. Let's go ahead and get started. Our stuffing for the meatloaf is spinach, which I've got here, fresh baby spinach, and mushrooms. Cook them down separately. Spinach is only going to take about 5 to 10 minutes or so. You want to get everything wilted down to where the water is mostly driven out, and we'll be able to chop it up pretty finely. Once our spinach is wilted down like this, we just pull it off, drain it on a paper towel, and we can chop it up. While it's cooling down, let's cook our mushrooms off. Go ahead and use any mushrooms you want for your stuffing. These happen to be creminis, which I just sliced, and now I'm kind of going through one more time to get them, roughly a half an inch or so chopped. You want them roughly the same dice, but frankly, they're going to be cooked down and stuffed into the meatloaf, so not too important to get it all that pretty. Once I got these done, this is probably 2 cups worth. We'll go ahead and saute them off. So I just wiped out our pan that we cooked the spinach in. Good amount of olive oil in there. Pan's over medium-high heat, and we're going to add about 2 cups of chopped mushrooms. I'm using cremini, which are kind of baby, portobello, but you can use any that you like. A little bit of salt. Give it a toss, and I like to cook these. Could use a little bit more olive oil. Mushrooms tend to take a lot of olive oil as you cook them down. I like to cook these down for about 20 minutes or so until almost all that water is driven out of the mushroom. The flavor is super concentrated. Just keep it kind of over medium heat so nothing burns, and give it a toss or a stir every 3 or 4 minutes. Okay, so we've got our mushrooms going for our stuffing right there. Good time to go ahead and start our meatloaf as well. A little bit of olive oil in the pan. Now, I like to add some sautéed onions, garlic, and celery, as well as carrot. That is carrot. So I got a few cloves of garlic. I've got a full carrot that I shredded. I've got a couple ribs of celery and a good large yellow onion on there. We'll hit it with a little bit of salt and just let these all kind of cook down until the onions are translucent and all the vegetables are kind of melted down. If you've got a preferred meatloaf recipe, by all means, go ahead, use that. Doesn't really matter. The stuffing will still work great with just about any version. Okay, so our mushrooms got down to nice kind of golden brown. All the water, most of the water evaporated out of them. I've also coarsely chopped our spinach, which is right here in the bowl. We're going to take it, we'll mix it all together, and this is essentially going to be our stuffing once we get our meatloaf ready. Ah, the magical meatloaf. Now, I got 3 pounds of ground meat here. I've got ground pork, ground beef, ground veal. You can certainly do with 2, you can even do with 1, but I think traditionally, and frankly to my taste, go with all 3, get you better meatloaf. 3 pounds of meat needs a lot of seasoning, so go pretty aggressive with the salt and the pepper. I'm probably going to grind a few more grinds of the pepper off camera here. And then we've got our vegetables, which, they're not cool, but they've cooled down because I don't want them to cook the meat. You can also kind of spread it out. That will help as well. I throw in 2 eggs into mine. I throw in about a cup of breadcrumbs. I'll save a little bit for my taste test. I throw a little bit of mustard in there, a little bit of ketchup in there, and then a dash of Worcestershire sauce. Not too much because it's pretty powerful stuff. And then the best way, I think, to mix it together is just get in there with your hands. You want everything mixed together until it's a nice kind of smooth consistency. And once it's together, if there's one thing that I want you to take away is go ahead and form just a little tester piece, cook it off, taste it, and check the seasoning. If it needs salt and pepper, come back, add more salt and pepper to the full batch here. Don't wait until you got the whole thing done. If it's a little tough, go ahead and add some more breadcrumbs. You can also add another egg. Those will tend to make the meatloaf a little bit more tender. So once we do that, we're going to come back, I'll lay it out, and we'll show you how to put it all together with our stuffing. Okay, so I've got our meatloaf here. You want to make sure you give it a taste before you put it in the meatloaf, just like our little taster. This one could use a little more salt and pepper. Mix that all together with a spoon, once I grab a spoon. And then what I've done here with our meatloaf mix is just put it on the sheet pan that I'm going to cook it on. A little bit of wax paper underneath, and that's going to help us essentially fold this all up. I'm going to spread our mushroom and spinach layer nice and evenly. The meatloaf is, maybe an inch thick or so. You don't want it so thick that you can't roll it up. You don't want it so thin that it's just going to break apart on you. And what you do is you use the paper here to just roll it over on top of each other, bring it in towards you, and you can see we're going to kind of pinwheel it to create a little circular effect there. And you pull that wax paper as we go. You want to try and start with obviously the same width on the meatloaf. Keep tugging the paper, keep rolling. You can even kind of pinch the ends and that will seal it. And you can stuff almost anything in here. Adding cheese to this, doing things other than the mushroom and spinach would be absolutely awesome. There you go. Do our little final form, and then you've got our perfectly stuffed meatloaf ready for a 390 degree oven, and that's probably going to take about 45 minutes to cook through. Internal temperature, just about 160. So depending on how big you make your meatloaf, it's going to take 45 minutes to an hour and a half or so. Mine took about an hour. You want to get an internal temperature. If you've got a handy dandy meat thermometer, go ahead and use it. Internal temperature of like 155, 160, and you'll be good to go. Just like any other meat, you want to let it rest. Don't worry about the little black edges around the end. I like mine freeform here. That's how you get a nice crust kind of all over the meatloaf. And that, you just spend an extra minute or two cleaning it up. Okay, let's go ahead and cut our stuffed meatloaf. And as I pull it apart, you'll see we've got that beautiful stuffing kind of right inside. After it's rested is when you cut it. Let's go ahead and serve it up. Okay, so let's go ahead and serve up our stuffed meatloaf. Like I said, we got mushrooms and spinach in there. You can easily add all kinds of different things. I've got a little bit of a sauce made with some more mushrooms that we can just kind of gently spoon maybe around the edges, a little bit on top, but we don't want to ruin that beautiful look and feel. And I'll see you next time on No Recipe Required. Holy cow, you made it to the end of the video. Hope you saw something you liked. Hope you tried this recipe. If so, throw something in the comments. Let me know how it turned out. And you know what? I put videos up every week, sometimes twice a week. If you want to subscribe, go ahead. Click this little button right here. It should be somewhere around my fingers. And you'll get updates when I post new videos. You can comment, you can enjoy. We can all learn to cook better. I'll see you next time.